Hey guys, and welcome to the greatest Total War Warhammer game on YouTube. That's right, I'm calling it right here. I'm a Rubber Duck of War, leading the mighty forces of the Norsca up against Leo Knight and a rather interesting vampire count build. I'm not even going to slow the game down because it takes a little while to get going. But welcome to the madness of this game that we had on stream. I don't normally cast these type of games, but I thought it was a pretty funny one. So let's go through my opponent's build. He has the Sternsman, some Graveguard with great weapons, some regiment-renowned zombies, as well as the Claw of Nagash, and then an absolute flustercluck in pure definition of just corpse carts. Look how many corpse carts are stacked on top of each other. It's just an endless parade of rotten flesh. There's necromancers in there, there's corpse carts in there, there's Helm and Gorst in there. There is an absolute ridiculous number of the beasties being dragged towards us. There's also a White King as well to help support. Now, I've gone for the Norscans. We've gone for our old school approach in this matchup. We're trying to dominate the skies with a Ferromanticore as well as a Frostworm. And down on the ground, we don't have, huge amounts of hardcore elite infantry, but we have a few mixed in there. So we have some marauders, we've also got some berserkers as well as marauder champions in that central portion. Our big damage dealers are of course going to be these marauder hunters with javelins, a couple of doggos to protect our back line from summons. We have a Famil Balefiend of fire as well as a marauder chieftain on the back of his mammoth, coming in with all of his good buffs as well as his flaming axe, which is very good in this matchup. So this is the type of build, unfortunately, that you may sometimes come up against in quick battles. Of course, this is certainly not tournament legal by any stretch of the imagination, but how do you deal with something like this? These corpse carts don't stack their buffs quite in the way I think my opponent assumes they do, so it's not as powerful as it first does look, but of course, draining effects, healing effects can be really nasty all round. But yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a tough fight. So how do you deal with this type of situation when you come up against it on quick battles? Well, just remember, you have complete dominance of the entirety of the map. This is such a slow build. You do not have to fight if you do not want to. So what we're going to do is chuck in some Norscan Warhounds as an absolute bait and then catch my opponent off guard with a fat, juicy burning head going down the line. So we are going to lose one unit of doggos, but in retaliation, we've managed to get the Sternsman pretty low and half health this unit of Graveguard as well, with a big fat follow-up breath attack doing even more damage to my opponent there. We're going to be falling back with our champions and other units, although this White King has really overextended, so the Marauder Chieftain was going to pop over there and say hello, but rather wisely my opponent does fall back with the mighty White King there. Famil Balefiend of fire is again going to be moving back where possible, and we're going to start the advance of our infantry, because again, my opponent has zero answers to getting into my back line. We don't actually have to protect the javelins from too much pressure. I did double check, of course, behind me there was no Warhounds, and the javelins will be looking to line up some shots and rip them into their enemy. We have moved in our Marauder Champions just to work as a pin to hold all my opponent's build together, and then we're going to come crashing from the flanks with the Marauder Berserkers as well as some basic Marauders. Ferromanticore comes in, Marauder Chieftain comes in, and we are instantly going to be trying to beam for that Claw of Nagash. I want it offline as quickly as possible. My opponent, I believe, does come in with a cheeky zombie summon there, but it's not going to do him too much good as our infantry has him surrounded. Now, of course, our infantry won't fare too well up against so many corpse carts, but it looks like the Claw of Nagash is about to bite the bullet. Good work, Marauder Hunter Javelins. You've done a fantastic showing so far, and it looks like we have more Marauders starting to come in from the reserves, though I am going to want to keep the majority of my forces at bay for now and drip feed in unit after unit, just so we can get the most out of these burning heads, as well as our cycle charging from our single entities. Big fat burning head once again is going to roast the Graveguard as well as the regiment of renowned zombies there, and once the chaff is out of the way, our Frostworm and Manticore are going to be nigh on unstoppable. They do come charging down here trying to attack those single entities. A load of javelins will still be firing in. They keep moving forward because their line of sight is getting a little bit buggy there, but they are launching shot after shot in, trying to focus down at the weakest of the necromancers, but it is so hard to tell what on earth is going on here. They're all just stuck together like glue. It is like, what's that movie where they strapped all those people together? Oh my god, it's eluding me right now. There's a horrible movie where they kind of like, they sew people together, and yeah, it looks like it is just what's going on here. I think the human centipede, there you go, I kept wanting to say the human caterpillar. And we won't call it the human caterpillar, it sounds much nicer, of these corpse carts. It's been a big pain in my butt, but once again, we do have the range dominance. Marauder Hunters are going to be getting some insane value today at the end of this battle, but likewise are our single entities, who are continuously cycle charging in, just trying to break down these single entity corpse carts where possible. Focus one down, get out of there, and focus one down again. Marauders are still in here, fighting strong, likewise are the Berserkers. They've been fighting for a pretty considerable amount of time now. Unfortunately, the champions did fall back, but they look to be regaining their senses and raring to go. Half our build is simply going to vibe on the outskirts of the battlefield for now. No need to engage. We have the Berserkers in there, we have some Marauders in there. That is enough to pin the enemy in place. As soon as one unit breaks, we then send another one forward to intercept the enemy where possible. We're just buying more and more time for our javelins and our big, large, scary creatures to get in there and really start dishing out the pain. Looks like the Ferroman score has been hit with a fight or die, so extra 24 melee attack is certainly not shabby. Unfortunately, it does rampage here, but it's going to be on top of course, all good targets. And that Marauder Chieftain is taking no prisoners right now. He is coated in his own blood, but he cares not. It merely fuels his bloodlust. He does ramrod some Graveguard down to the ground. This is a summoned unit of Graveguard, which is, of course, Helmengor's specialty there. The Javelins are still struggling to find the right targets, but at the end of the day, as long as we use up our ammo, it's going to be well spent. A lovely breath attack followed in by a bucket ton of Javelins. Hits this Necromancer, who's getting very close to his healing cap now. Likewise is this second corpse cart in the distance. Poor little White King does try to be the hero that the Vampire Counts need and charge headlong into our Marauder Chieftain here, but to be honest, it kind of doesn't go too well for him, and he gets shoved back into the carnage as the Ferroman score continues to feast. Our Javelins have no longer any problems of firing their Javelins in, and they are just eviscerating these corpse carts with the help of the large creatures. And yeah, the Javelins are actually look pretty basic, but honestly, they're a very, very powerful unit. As they copy those Javelins in, they can do a disgusting amount of burst damage. Berserker's taking a little bit of breathe at the moment, likewise are these Marauders. The Ferroman's core is absorbing the majority of the damage, and it's going to buy more and more time for these Javelins just to do the good work here of Norsca. Balance power is dead even at the moment. The battle, though, is... this is all live stream, by the way. It was not the funnest battle to cast, but I did want to showcase how you kind of take down a build like this, because unfortunately you will come up against a few of them. It is quite a funny build at the same time. Chat actually did agree it was the greatest build they had ever witnessed, so I think that must mean, you know, this is the greatest battle of all time. Not too much more to say about that. Marauders do pile in once more back into the fray, lads, as the Frostworm swoops up in the sky, looking to descend once more, come crashing down, and it's going to attack that weakened corpse cart. We want to focus fire them down as much as possible. Ferroman's core is dealing with one on this right-hand flank, and in comes the Marauder Chieftain to try to save the day, because this man's score is getting a little bit low and beat up, but in comes a fight or die, and another corpse cart does bite the dust. A fat, juicy fireball is going to clatter in and explode one of those corpse carts in holy fury. And the Frostworm has put in an absolute shift so far. It's up to a silver chevron. The Ferroman's core is on triple bronze, though they did start the battle with a couple of chevrons themselves. The Marauder Chieftain has been an absolute raid boss right now, standing in the middle of all our enemies and laughing in their face at their petty attempts to bring down such a majestic beastie. It looks like we are going to be seeing a little bit of bonus in leadership to my opponent. Not a bad idea, because a lot of his forces are starting to get rather low leadership-wise. And Helmengorst is still somehow fighting in the middle of all this. We're actually moving up some of our Javelins into combat, because they have indeed used up all their ammunition. Only 30 kills them, but of course they've got some pretty good damage onto those carts. One cart is overextending a little bit on the left-hand side, so we're instantly going to dive down with the Frostworm to see to that mistake and to start breaking the bones and rotting flesh of that rather glorious model there, and it's not having a good day whatsoever. Curse of Years does go down on us, but we pop a Scroll of Shielding to counteract this to a point, and at the same time, we don't need to fight my opponent. That is kind of the main thing I'm trying to hammer home today. We can pick and choose our fights completely, use up all of our ammunition in our build, and okay, you pop Curse of Years on us, we're simply going to walk away from the fight, wait for that debuff to go down, and then come in and engage once more in hand-to-hand combat. A couple more Javelin throws are going to go in. It looks like these guys unfortunately are out of ammunition, so we'll be moving into hand-to-hand combat soon. But luckily, because that debuff has gone out onto the left-hand side, that is going to allow the Chieftain to come in. Potion of Foolhardiness has been popped, increasing his charge bonus to a rather ridiculous 95. Crushes Gorst, and my opponent does withdraw. Look at the bodies on the ground of all the hollowed corpses of the corpse carts. And just a nice, tasty, close victory. So a rather comfortable game in the end. Well played to Leo Knight with the absolute ridiculous meme build. I don't know if people think this is competitive. I've seen a few people bring it. recently on quick battles, and a few people complain about it as well, but yeah, these buffs and debuffs do not stack in the same way that you think they do, so it is certainly nowhere near as powerful as it looks, but it still did do some pretty good damage to us over time. But it is a very, very one-dimensional and easily destroyed build. Simply, cycle charge with your big entities, use up all your magic, use up your range. This cannot press your build, basically any build in the game, even dwarves to be able to kite back and run away from this with relative successfulness. As for ourselves, I mean, it did really come down to those javelins, pin and a shift, as well as our single entities, who did manage to gain some chevrons, both of them ending with that silver chevron. Hope you guys enjoyed this ridiculous battle. I don't normally cast ones like this, but I thought it was, a little bit of fun of a meme battle, a little interesting one to showcase you guys, and I certainly had a good time doing that. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this battle. If you did, make sure to leave a thumbs up as well as subscribe for more glorious Total War Warhammer content into the future. We will go through the damage dealt and damage value of all of these units in just a second, but if you did enjoy this battle, feel free to comment down below. What was your favourite moment? What do you think of this rather beautiful Vampire Counts build? I feel like this replay is going to divide a lot of people on, oh my god, that was the most disgusting thing I ever saw, or, oh my god, that was the greatest quackening I have ever witnessed in my entire life. So yeah, let me know down below in the comments. There are links as well in the description to my Patreon if you'd like to support the channel, as well as links to my Discord where you can submit replays to get them cast on the channel, get involved in tournaments, King of the Hills, all these fun events we host, and chill out with a load of cool people. But anyway, back to the damage dealt and damage value. The Mighty Chieftain, I really do think he's actually pretty solid in this matchup. On live stream, we were having some fun waiting for a tournament to kick off, so we were bringing non-legendary lords from factions who really have sucky basic lords. But I actually think the Mighty Chieftain in this matchup, due to the fact he can get those flaming attacks with his axe, can be relatively okay. 2.6k damage value, over 14k damage dealt, and 33 kills. He really put in a shift today. Famir Belfiend Fire did really good, 1.7 damage value, over 14k damage dealt. His job just to clear out those Graveguard and zombies as quickly as possible with those burning heads, and we sacrificed units in one after the other, but it did buy time for him to do his evil deeds there. And yeah, getting rid of the chaff really helps out when you're dealing with all these corpse cards. Marauders aren't going to be getting good damage value across the board, and most of them not even getting any kills. The Marauder Champions and Berserkers, of course, not paying for themselves. They're getting 69 kills, so I'm sure they'll go home and have a good laugh at that. Actually, they're all dead, so unfortunately, they'll have to be laughing about that in the halls of Valhalla. The Marauder Hunter Javelins were absolutely clutch here today. I think they're one of the best anti-large units in general, to be honest, like range units, if you know how to use them. They are very short range, not the best projectiles either for taking down air forces, but if you can keep hunters online and active, they are so deadly with that burst damage to take down single entities, and of course my opponent had one or two of those today. So 30 kills, 4 kills, and 11. The damage value, though, on this rather cheap unit as well, 1,901 damage value, over 11k damage dealt, and the next one over 1,000 damage value, and again 2,211 damage value, over 12k damage dealt, and 11 kills. My god, those hunters came in clutch. Poor Warhounds were used just to sacrifice in and pin the enemy in place. The Ferroman score, brilliant job, 1.6k damage value, over 11k damage dealt, and the Frostworm 2.5 with 20k damage dealt as well. Those breath attacks being rather juicy and nice, helping us clear out the Graveguard in the early stages, and then assassinating all the corpse cards. As for the Vampire Count build, Helmengorst, 2,000 damage value and 14k damage dealt. He is truly a menace in the night now, 99 kills. It's so fun to see that he has kind of emerged from the shadows of being a meme to actually being quite a powerful combatant. White King did a decent job as well, 1.2k damage value. The zombies and Graveguard basically sucked, which was to be expected. I mean, 500 damage value and 600 is not garbage, but it's not great either. The poor little corpse cards did basically nothing damage value-wise. Likewise, the Balefires did, pretty much nothing whatsoever. And the corpse cards with Unholy Lodestone, once again, doing basically no damage value. But of course, they were healing each other and trying to buy time for Helmengorst to really bring the pain to our build. Klovnagash, only 400 damage value. I saw it as quite a key threat in my opponent's build, as it could really drain my infantry very quickly. So we focused it down and got rid of it as quickly as possible. Hope you enjoyed this ridiculous battle. Until next time, peace, peace. And as always, stay awesome.